What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Connected by Creatures. Zach and I are extremely excited for this guest. We don't even have to introduce you guys. You all know from Wickens, Wicked Reptiles, Mr. Adam Wickens. What's up, Adam?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
No, man, thank you for doing
Absolutely,
it.
brother.
And first off, before we go any further, man, congratulations on 100,000 subs. YouTube, that's crazy, man. It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a couple days. My goal was tomorrow. I wanted to on my 30th birthday. That's when I wanted to hit 100K, and I got it a couple days early. So I appreciate everyone who hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
So just for you, I went out today, Adam, for your 100,000, and I picked up a nice Canadian beer, a little Le Fin de Monde, which is straight out of Canada. So I just figured I'd start the stream off by popping this bag.
Beautiful. I'm drinking Canadian whiskey, so we're all Canadian all around here.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This is like the perfect time to come on, and this will be a fun one.
Yeah. And,
no, for sure, man. Seriously.
Super excited. There's a lot of stuff that Zach and I want to get into with you. And so I don't want to dilly-dally around. I want to go ahead and start jumping into some of this stuff. I know that you also do stand-up comedy, which I think is great, and it's something that I've always wanted to dabble in, but never had the testicular fortitude to do. And so, man, who were some of your influences getting into that? Like your favorite stand-up comics, and like what kind of made you decide that you really wanted to do it?
So the first book I ever read when I was like 12, I picked up off my parents' nightstand. It was a Jeff Foxworthy book. And growing up, like if I had a babysitter growing up, it was because my parents were going to Yuck Yucks, which is like the comedy chain in Canada. So everybody, Jim Carrey, everybody performed at Yuck Yucks before they moved to the States. So I've always been into it. My parents have always been into it. I remember watching Blue Collar Comedy when I was like 13 or 14. And I found George Carlin when I was 12. That's the greatest comedian to ever live. And then I started to get into podcasts a few years ago, and I started to listen to like Rogan and Joey Diaz and Bill Burr, who in my opinion is the greatest living comedian. Him and Chappelle are pretty close. And Burr and Brian Regan were talking, and they were talking about their first time and how they started comedy. And it was like right then and there that I decided, okay, because I tried comedy once when I was 19, and then I kind of like had to choose, am I going to do bodybuilding or am I going to do comedy? And I chose bodybuilding at that time. And then so I tore my shoulder apart, quit bodybuilding, and then a few years later I'm like, okay, I want to be on stage, but I want to keep my clothes on this time. How can I do that? And so I decided that I was going to start comedy. And one of my best friends, who I actually competed with in bodybuilding, he opened a comedy club like the year before. So he's like, okay, message David and then get a spot. And then I did, and it went okay. And then I just continued. Like I just never stopped. It's like one of those things like that you do, like a lot of us with Reptiles, where you do it and you know, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, you know?
Right.
Yeah, for sure, man. So give me an idea. You know, I hinted at this with my Facebook post, and I'm just going to dive right into this, man. You know, obviously you're super successful on YouTube now. I mean, I think I remember finding your channel when you were maybe 10,000 subs or maybe 20,000 subs, and even that wasn't that long ago.
That was like a year ago.
On top of that,
20,000 subs a year ago today.
Yeah. Okay. See, I was right. So, because for those that don't know, I have a personal connection, at least in my mind, with you because, man, I reached out to you early on when I was starting my channel, literally a year ago, and I just was like, hey, you know, if you wouldn't mind, like, check out my channel, give me some pointers, and you did, you know, and you went and took the time and like watched the video, and that, like, just little things like that mean a lot to me. But what I was trying to get at was just, you know, again, you've done the bodybuilding successfully, you know, competitively. Obviously, you professionally now do stand-up comedy. And on top of that, again, very quickly rose through the ranks in YouTube. What would you say that you attribute that drive to, man? I mean, you know, and maybe it's not drive, maybe it's something else that you think that you just have that just makes you push for the things that you like.
I don't know. Like both my parents worked full-time jobs growing up, and like I could see I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go to a job I didn't like for the rest of my life. I just knew immediately. And then I did a few channels before this that were terrible. They failed. I did a whiskey channel before this. I did a fitness channel before. Like I did a bunch of channels before this one, and they all failed. And the reason they failed is because I never like went balls deep. I never went balls to the wall, and that is my personality, is to jump into things and then throw everything else to the wind. And I didn't do that with those other channels. So I did that with bodybuilding, and I kind of realized one day, like, okay, so I did that, and the reason that I won, even though I was undersized, is because I would work harder than all the other guys. So what if I did that with something else? And then I learned how to edit, and I learned how to talk to a camera, and because of stand-up, I was already okay at, you know, talking.
Yeah.
So I just thought, like, now is the time to cannonball into the water and stop dipping your toe in. And I think that's kind of like what it is. I'm not afraid. Like today, I spent 14 hours editing a video today, which will be up on Patreon, by the way, in like 2 hours or whenever this is done. So it's like, I'm not afraid to work those hours, where I think a lot of other channels wouldn't do that. They'd be like, okay, 2 hours is enough. Like the edit is done. Where with me, I spent 2 hours doing music for the video today. So I think that's just what it is. It's just like this drive of, I know what I want. I want to work for myself. I don't want to, you know, be the guy that goes to work every day and comes home and he's miserable to his kids because, you know, he has this job where it's a thankless job. Like, I don't want that. I want to do my own thing. And I think that's my drive.
Yeah. I understand that wholeheartedly. Because I kind of, for the last few years, have been stuck in that rut. Like, you know, I put in 72 to 84 plus hours a week on a job that, you know, it's not for me. You know, it's something that I'm working for somebody else. I'm making other people money. I'm doing, you know, doing all these things. And at the end of the day, I'm just as expendable as the next guy, you know, and that's why when I posted on your Facebook yesterday or the day before, that it is inspiring to me to see somebody like you that rise, you know, so quick and hit the numbers so fast. And it's all because of the exact things that you're talking about, you know, the hard work and outworking the next guy. But at the same time, man, it's having the confidence to do it, you know, to say, hey, I'm going to do this regardless. And it is inspirational, Adam, like that, you know, and I think a lot of other people outside of just Zach and I see it as well.
I appreciate it. And that's what I'm trying to do, right? At the end of the day, the reason I started the channel, or like the driving force, is that I wanted to inspire others, mostly with reptiles. Like it turned into something else where I get to talk to guys like Zach, and I love doing that. I love like All Canadian Reptile Girl is another great example, right? Like I found her channel forever ago, super underrated, and I'm happy to be like, hey, you should try TikTok, you should try this. And I'm telling Zach, like, you know, work on the audio, whatever. Like I like doing that, but the primary thing for the channel is like, I want to be the guy that inspires some kid to be like, yeah, snakes are awesome. Like, can I get a pet snake? Like, and then maybe he turns into the next Steve Irwin or the next David Attenborough. I'm not, because I'm not smart enough. I'm a dummy. But maybe some kid who is smarter than me will have the passion and then take it to a level where I couldn't. And that's kind of like the whole goal.
Yeah, man. No, I love it, man. You know, that's kind of where we're headed with Wrapped Around Reptiles is, you know, we're going away from breeding and wanting to do more of the educational side and more of, you know, just exposing people to these amazing animals that have this negative stigma to them. And like, we did a birthday party last Friday and I missed our podcast with Garrett. And, but it was like 16 to 18-year-old kids. And I haven't got a chance to talk about it on here because this is the first week that we've done it since then. And like, there was a 17-year-old boy who's an offensive lineman, probably 6'8", about 320 pounds. And when we first walked in the door, he was ready to run. And by the end of the night, he didn't want to give me a Burmese python back because he wanted to take it home. And like, he was FaceTiming his dad and showing his dad was like, boy, you shouldn't have a snake, blah, blah. And the kid was trying to explain to him and that means everything. And for you to be able to do it at the level that you're doing, you know, and, you know, with other people that are doing it at the level that you guys are doing it, that's what it's all about, man. And I'm appreciative. I want to say thank you for that, for spreading the word about these animals.
That's
I want to piggyback off of. Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I want to piggyback off of one thing that you said, Bradley, as far as the stepping away from the breeding thing. I want to touch on your latest video you put out, Adam, because I loved it. I also loved the way that you titled it, the way that you let it in. I think that was the most kind of eloquent approach that you could have taken to like clickbait, if you want to call it that, right? And I didn't take it as that. Like I want to talk about that a little bit at some point too, some clickbait stuff. But to me, it was like I love that title because as somebody that knows the industry a little bit and knows your content, I was excited to see where you're going. And you went kind of exactly where I was hoping that you would take it. But I also think that a title like that's important because it shakes things up and makes people think. Before they even watched it, they're thinking and like starting to process the information they might be getting to see.
Yeah, I think that like at the end of the day, like with the clickbait thing, like you kind of have to. I'm not gonna like go to a Brian Barchuk level where it's like blood and guts and every thumbnail, right? Like I almost like none of like that. Hog nose bites, almost died. Which I'm not gonna do that. But at the same time, you have to make it flashy because at the way that I support myself and my reptiles is like from this channel. So I have to get clicks, but I'm not doing it in malice to get these clicks and then not deliver. I'm delivering what I promised to deliver. And also I'm just kind of like, you know, exaggerating, but I'm also trying to bring in the people who have their minds made up and trying to change their minds. I want people who think, who is this idiot? Why would I listen to him? Of course I'm going to breed because I know what I'm doing. I want those people to watch and then look and be like, oh, I never realized it was going to cost me $400 a month to feed the babies. Maybe I should wait. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get those people to watch.
Or even more so, another layer is the people that agree with the title of like, yeah, nobody should be breeding those darn animals. And then they're sucked in because you wrap them into that video. And then they get this educated response to how they should actually feel about it. And then it's like, maybe, just maybe you yourself have an impact on them because they're like, oh, I had no idea that there were people that kept these animals that were actually rational in their thinking and actually put some legitimate thought into what they're doing. You know what I mean? I think that is almost the more powerful thing. Than
I'm trying to be
other,
relatable, right, to these people,
ways.
just because you know, like if you're not like, if you're one of these guys where it's like, oh, well, here's this guy, you know, and he's got this big, you know, studio and all the, I'm just trying to be like some guy behind a camera. Like I've been doing this for, you know, 10 or 15 years or however long I've been keeping reptiles. And it's like, well, if this guy can do it, then why can't I, you know, breed reptiles or not breed reptiles or give the best possible husbandry? And I just kind of like, I'm trying to be like the everyman type of thing rather than like this elevated, you know, like I'm never going to be like a Logan Paul. I'm just going to be some guy with a camera and a bunch of snakes.
Well, and to your point, I think that the style of the video that you do, you know, and I wanted to ask you about, you know, where that idea to go down that route came from. But like the style of video that you do, you're honest. You know, that's one of the things that I love is you'll be like, well, I'm not scientifically, you know, being able to tell you this, and this. This is just how it is. And, you know, that honesty makes it to where you're connectable with people that, you know, maybe doesn't, if you hear, you know, somebody using scientific names and, you know, Latin names for different animals or, you know, going to another level, like the layman and the person outside of the reptile community might not enjoy the video as much as they do. And with yours, you know, you keep it simple, but still informative. And that's what another question that I wanted to ask you was, you know, what did you make that decision early to start making like the top 5, top 10 type videos?
My first top 5 video was September 2019. And I remember it because that was like what took me from very slow to, okay, I've got something now. And I think the format works, but I took it in a different direction because I am not the first one. Clint has been doing top 5s for longer than me. I just do them different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, and at the end of the day, there's no one that can claim, well, oh, I'm the top 5 guy. Because since it started, everyone's done top 5s or top 10s or whatever. Mojo, right? Watch Mojo, which I learned the other day is a Canadian channel. Anyway, but they their whole thing is top 10. So it's not like a proprietary thing. But I thought, okay, this is a digestible format. You're going to click on it. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get 5 points or 5 animals or whatever it is. It's easily digestible. You can break it down into chapters or sections or whatever you want to call it. So I think that is the idea is like, I want to be talking to everybody. I don't want anyone to be like, well, this guy's talking to guys that are above my level. I want to talk to the guy who just learned about ball pythons yesterday, and I want them to be able to understand me, because there's nothing that drives me more crazy than someone who's using Latin name for ball python. Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Like, you're not helping anybody.
No, you're just flexing.
Yes,
like
that's all it is.
You're almost gatekeeping in the sense of like, unless you understand what I'm talking about, I'm gonna need you to just exit and go like talk to somebody else about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no interest in being
like
that guy. There's a million of those guys, and if you go on these ball python, Fort World ball python, whatever, like, I don't mean to call up specific groups, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
No, you're fine.
And it's like,
yeah,
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the gatekeeper. And I've been in a bunch of different hobbies, right? If this hobby is toxic, you wouldn't even imagine what the bodybuilding community is like. It is a million times worse. And then I know people who are like horse people. All those people are crazy, by the way. But those people are like unbelievably, or bird people or fish people. We're all, there's toxicity in all of it. And I just want this channel and the YouTube channel, my Discord, everything about Wickens Wicked Reptiles to be anti that. If you're a bully, I want nothing. I want to run as far away from you as possible. You are cancer to me.
Yeah, no, and I think I've said this before. I think a lot of that stuff comes from people are very insecure, and so it's like if they have this thing that they feel is very unique to them, that's small and special, they get so afraid if they see it start to become popular, because suddenly they feel like it makes them not special anymore.
Yes.
But in reality, it's like if you would share that love that you have for this thing with other people, you'll be so much happier. Like, you will be amazed at the joy and the love and the care that you will get from people that you've only met once or twice or 3 times because you inspired them in some way. Like, there's so much more to be gained.
That is perfect. That's exactly right.
Thank you. It's accidentally but it's just the truth, and I can only say I've experienced it. Yeah, Zach Facts right there. That's the Zach Fact of the evening. Yeah, no, for sure. And again, that's something that I only learned by embracing it and leaning into that. So no, I love it, man. And so I laugh because you're probably aware there's some people out there that have maybe had some groans and grumbles about you in terms of like your quick success, like, oh, who is this guy that, he doesn't know that all that much, blah, blah. And I think a lot of it is because, like you said, you're like, I'm trying to appeal to everyone. I don't feel any need to like impress the guy that's been doing this longer than me or whatever. Like that's cool. He's already here. He's already doing what I love. I want to embrace these other people as well as that guy, and just like make everybody feel welcome and all that. So I love that about your stuff, man.
Yeah, I think it's just you can't be. It's a jealousy thing too, right? Because, and I see 100%. That a lot, and it's not even just me. Before me, it was even guys like a Professor Herp, who at the time was like 1,000 subscribers, or a Brian Cusco, who, although extremely like the most respected guy that there is, has a smaller subscribership. And those are the guys where you see people being jealous of them, because it's like, well, this guy has a voice. Maybe you knew more than me, but you're jealous because I have a voice and you don't. So instead of like being a hater, why don't you just tell me, oh, you were wrong about this? And I've had Dave Kaufman reach out to me a bunch of times. Hey, just so you know, you were wrong about this. Just want to correct you. Not being a dick, just want to correct. And then
Dave's great. Yeah.
Yes. And I can just kind of like in the next video be like, okay, by the way, I said that spadefoot toads come from this area. In fact, it's only, you know what I mean? So I think that's the thing too, is like always being able to correct yourself, where so many of these people, I read a care guide in 1982 and I know that sand will kill your bearded dragon. It's like, it's grandma, you got to stop. You have to, Karens, there's so many cage Karens, and they got
to be willing to move forward.
Yeah. And there's so many people that aren't. And I think this whole, especially animals, like we learn so much all the time. Like we thought crested geckos were extinct in my lifetime, dude. In my lifetime, we thought they were extinct, and now so things change, and we have to be willing to accept the change and to kind of parrot that change as well. I stopped saying BCI. I say BI now, BC instead of BC. And now I'm getting all these like, hey, you said there's 4 Antaresia species, but I saw last week that it's only 3. And I know this video's from 2 years ago, but you're wrong. And it's like, I know, and I'll correct myself moving forward.
I mean, it's the same thing with people saying co-dominant and incomplete dominant genes. It's the same thing, like Barchek just put out a video about the Stimson's python and the children's and spotteds and all that. I mean, it's constantly changing, and the taxonomy is always changing. But I think what's important is that as a reptile community, we have to stop blasting each other constantly over social media and blasting this person for this and blasting this person for that. Because, like, you know, in the United States right now, there's a lot of legislation and a lot of shit that's, you know, just firing down the rifle. And, you know, we have to, you know, be as a group together, because just because you don't keep a certain species of snake or just because you don't keep a certain species of lizard, it's affecting you. And even if you don't keep reptiles at all, like, these laws, they're gonna affect you because they're setting negative precedents, you know. And like, we have to come together as a community and stop just hammering. Okay, so you have your leopard gecko on a paper towel, stop smashing this dude's face all over the internet. But, you know.
Well, and here's the thing here's one thing I'll say is that, first of all, it's very hard, right? Because when people ask questions a lot of times in these groups and things like that, um, unfortunately, people are sensitive, you know. And so even if you answer a question that somebody asked on their own and you give them a legitimate answer in a very nice way, sometimes people take offense. If it's different than the way they're currently doing it, they get offended because they're like, oh no, I've been fucking this up, and this guy's identifying that I've been fucking up how I'm keeping this animal, and now I feel bad, so I'm going to lash out, right? That's why I think Adam, what you do is important, and you could probably touch on this for us so that we're not just talking the entire time.
Well, I don't know. I just think that, like, the willingness to accept that you are wrong is something that I do exceptionally well. If there's anything I do well at all, it's just being willing to admit that I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot. I'm a moron in front of a camera. Yeah. Like, the information that I get is from other people. So it's not like I'm doing the studies. So if someone says to me, hey, there's only 3 Antaresia species, well, then you let me read about it. And it turns out that you're right. Yeah. As of last week. So stop grilling. And it's like what you said, like, oh, well, it has to be on paper towel and blah, blah. It's like, okay, but what are they on that in the wild? That's why I think Dave Kaufman's series, Are We Keeping Them Correctly, is the best thing that ever happened to reptile keeping. And like, I think that you see that, and then people will, well, why would you risk it? Why wouldn't you just, you know, there's a risk. Well, it's okay. Well, they have more risks, you know, like I don't have coyotes in the enclosure that I set free every night. You know what I mean? Like, there is a 99% chance, better chance that they're going to live with me than they would in the wild. So if I want to have something a little bit more naturalistic because it's better for enrichment, I mean, would you want to be in a padded cell with just, you know, white paper towel on it? Or would you want to be on something that is more reminiscent of where you come from? I think the argument is absolutely silly. It's just so silly. But I mean, again,
well, there's always where you draw the line. Yeah. How far do you go? You know, and I think the point I was just trying to make was just that I think your approach to this is why I think content creation is important. I guess that's the point I was trying to make, is that by you making the content that you make and doing it in the way that you do and accepting, you know, those criticisms and then correcting yourself, clearly you've already shown that you've proven you're building this huge community of people that are now far more educated about these animals than they would have been had they never gotten a hold of you and seen your stuff and what you've got going on, without you ever having to correct them. You see what I mean? You corrected them without having to reach out to them and be like, hey, that's not how you keep that. You see what I mean? And that's powerful. Just by making that stuff more readily available and putting that information out. So no, that's amazing, man. You know, again, one thing I did want to kind of touch on was we like to always kind of get away from the reptile talk and the YouTube talk even, and just kind of get down to people as people. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of, what is your long-term goal? I mean, I have an idea of what you're doing with YouTube and things and what you want that to be, but you know, what does Adam see, you know, for yourself, you know, 20, 30 years from now in terms of just life, man? I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to move to the US. Like, I'm very vocal about this. And so I'm trying to move to the US because that's where the opportunity is, right? This country, I'm not really happy with where things are going. And we're going to be shut down until like next year. It's ridiculous. So I'm trying to leave. And then the idea is, what I would like to do is every day I want to hire an editor, and every day I want to go and make a YouTube video, kind of like a bar chuck does, but I want to travel around the US or the world and do it. So I want to go to, you know, like Cincinnati Zoo today, and then I go to Columbus Zoo tomorrow, and you know what I mean? And I send those to an editor and he edits them, and he or she, whatever. And then at night I go and do the Columbus Improv. I want to start doing so that I'm doing comedy at night. I'm doing content creation during the day, and I have someone doing all the back end work for me. And all I have to do is reply to comments, which I love doing. I'll never stop replying to comments. I love talking to people who watch the channel. So that is my end goal. In 20 or 30 years, who knows? I'm a big Elon Musk fanboy, and if he wants to throw that Neuralink in my brain and just kind of like run me I don't care, I'll do that, whatever it is, right? But that is the goal, is move to Texas and then kind of like just continue going with the channel. And then once I can start doing comedy again, right? Because we're in jail right now. We extended our lockdown until June 2nd. So I'm not legally allowed to leave my house. It's brutal, man. And so I just want to move to a place where like there's actual freedom, and then I can kind of like get on with my life and kind of do what I'm doing. But comedy will be a big part of it as well. I want to do like 50-50 YouTube and comedy. So I did comedy first. Yeah. And if it wasn't for comedy, I never would have met the guy who convinced me to start this channel in the first place. So that is kind of like what I'd like to do. And there is nothing better on this earth, no better feeling at all than being on stage and killing. The worst feeling is bombing, which happens also. But you got to take your chances.
The trade-off's worthwhile.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, Adam, I love that answer, man.
Is there any of your stand-up content that people can reach and get to? Because like I've honestly I know you do it, but I've never seen where I can find your content, and I would love to check it out.
So I've just got like a couple. They're not edited or anything, just a couple videos. If you like Google my name, Adam Wickens, another YouTube channel pops up. It's like a super small, like 100 subscribers, whatever. And then I do like I make these drone photography videos sometimes too, and I throw them on there. I don't promote it. It's just kind of like if I send in a submission to a festival, then here's the YouTube channel, and then I just kind of muck around with a drone because I like to do that for fun when I make videos. So, but I have another YouTube channel that is just kind of like for fun, and I have some comedy on there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned TikTok earlier, and I have been a big proponent of TikTok on here numerous times to other people that are trying to grow their content and their marketing. Give me a little bit of background on kind of your thoughts on that, and maybe you can fill me in on some things that maybe I've got wrong or confirm further what I already think.
Well, I'm definitely not the authority on TikTok. I have a small following, but I think it's a good idea. And I was a big Vine guy, man. I had a Vine following in 2013, and it was like a comedy thing, not Reptiles. But so this is kind of like, I don't know, a more cheesy version of that to me. So I think it's a good way to promote your stuff. It's like very digestible. I love I don't have time. I'm trying to hire an editor right now. I've kind of been talking about this on my own channel. So I've got time because I want to start doing YouTube shorts again, which I was doing for a while, and then throwing stuff on TikTok, doing reels. And it's just right now, like, bro, I spent 14 hours editing a video today. I just don't have time. But I think that TikTok is a big thing. I think you should jump on it if you have the opportunity to. Yes, it is Chinese spyware, and they're spying on you and know everything you're doing. But you also have an iPhone, so they knew anyway. So what's the point? I get that all the time. Like, well, what about the Chinese guy? You have an iPhone. Like, this conversation they're listening to, so it doesn't really matter. But I think TikTok is great.
Cool. Yeah. Like I said, that was kind of a shameless ask just because I get a lot of crap from people for me recommending it. And I still think it's an amazing place where a lot of people can get some natural growth and kind of gain some traction on their own. And I think
it's like a promotional thing, right? It's not a place to go and meet friends because like I'm 30 years old tomorrow, right? Like I can't meet friends on TikTok. They're all 12. So I'd go to jail. But other than that, I mean, it's like a good promotional tool.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And especially for content like yours, again, where you can essentially just gain a little traction. So I get it.
Yeah. I also think that if you're like a TikTok fan, you like watching these sad TikToks, you should definitely watch Christina's creations on or curations on Your Mom's House. The TikTok curations there I spent hours laughing to the point I almost pee myself.
So
I love the Your Mom's House
Katie, the other half of Wrapped Around Reptiles, Katie, my wife, she's all about Your Mom's House. Like she's obsessed. Like that's her thing, man. Like anytime I come home, that's what's on. And I have to admit, dude, it's hilarious. Like it's almost taking over Joe Rogan for us at our house. Like I love Joe Rogan, always have, but the Your Mom's House is great.
I'm afraid of silence. Like I can't be at home if no music or a podcast are playing. I just can't. Like it makes me, I don't know.
Same.
So that's like in my rotation. Like my number one is Monday Morning Podcast. Bill Burr is like, man, it's like, it's so weird. Like you feel like you know these people even though you've never met them. But Burr, he does it by himself. So to me, I don't know. He's the funniest guy on the planet, in my opinion. I listen to Joey Diaz's podcast. If Rogan has a good guest, which he's had like a lot of really good ones lately, I watch him. And then Segura's podcast. So I haven't watched any Tom Talks, but I watched Your Mom's House. I watch the clips all the time. And that's like my lunch break. I'll like give myself 30 minutes to eat at my desk, and I'll watch Your Mom's House. And then I love Two Bears, One Cave. Like, I'll be honest, I think
I was
Bert
just
is
gonna
kind
ask
of annoying.
you.
Man, I love Two Bears. I throw Two Bears
so
drops
good.
in my videos all the time.
Yeah.
I think Bert is
Dude, I
fat and probably does
cry.
fuck dogs, but I think that, you know, at the end of the day, it is a hilarious podcast. And everyone who watches my channel are like, did he just say that for real? But anyway, you should go watch it. You'll get it.
Oh man,
So,
I'm so
just-
glad you said that.
Just throwing it out there. If there was any comedian live or dead that you could spend an hour with picking their brain, what comedian would you hang out with?
Probably Bill Burr. I used to say George Carlin. In my opinion, that is the greatest person who has ever lived. If there's a Mount Rushmore, he's on it, no matter who you ask. But
Yeah.
I think that Bill Burr, because of the time, and I think that comedy changes, right? Although Carlin stands up and so does Pryor. I don't know. I think it would definitely be Burr, I think. And I think that if him and I got to talking, and it like I don't know. Bill Burr reminds me of my dad a lot. They're both from the East Coast. They're both angry. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm listening to my dad rant about stuff sometimes, especially before his mushroom trip, where now he's like, "What's up, man?" But before that, when he used to be angry. But yeah, it would definitely be Burr, in my opinion.
I'm a huge Mitch Hedberg guy. Like, I think Mitch Hedberg's one of the funniest comedians ever. Like,
underrated.
His
He died
his
so young.
delivery. Like,
Yeah.
I've always loved Hedberg.
Yeah, I used to do drugs. I still do them, but I used to as well. I love that, man. So funny.
Yeah.
It's like a
Hilarious.
guy asked me if I wanted to see a picture of him when he was younger. Every picture's a picture of you when you were younger.
Man, and it's funny because like
The way his brain works, man.
He'll think of something funny, but he's in bed, and if the pen's too far, he'll try to convince himself what he thought of wasn't really that funny, and it's hilarious. And then like you start doing content creation or comedy, and you're like, bro, I do that every night. So now I realize that you can just be like, you know, hey Siri, and then you can tell her, and then she'll read it back to you. Which, by the way, if you think of something funny and you say it to Siri and she reads it back to you, and you laugh at it, you know it's going to be a good joke. It's like, this is a life hack for the zero comedians who are watching.
That's a really good thing. And actually, I was gonna ask you, man, like throw out some advice for some people that are thinking about doing their first like stand up, or if you're thinking about getting into comedy. So that's, you know, a little kernel of wisdom there.
Yeah, my advice for anyone who wants to start comedy is very similar to a YouTube channel or anything else. Like, just do it. So usually it's 5 minutes. Open mics are usually 5 minutes. And so get your best, 5 minutes, write a bunch of jokes, practice it in front of a mirror to your dog, whatever. My dogs never laugh. They're a terrible audience. But anyway, that's what I tell jokes to. And just go up and don't chicken out. Like, go up, wait for your name to be called, tell the host that it's your first time. He'll tell the audience, and everyone's going to be nice to you. Unless you live in a place like Philly where everyone's going to die of a heart attack at 60. Unless you live in a place like that where everyone is so mean, you're going to be fine, and everyone's going to love you. And everyone was super supportive of me my first time. And if there's a guy who shows up and he's like, bro, this is my first time, I will put my arm around him. I'll buy him a drink. I will stay for his set. I will sit in the front row and laugh, because it is like the most traumatizing, scary, ridiculously, like, man, it's something else. Like, it's like one of those things where you will have the shits all day because you are so nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But my suggestion is just like, whatever you want to do in life, just do it. Just do it, and do not let anyone talk you out of it, including yourself. And if anyone in your life tells you that's stupid, get them out. You don't need that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever done any type of acting, like outside of just the stand up or everything? Have you ever got into like doing like acting, whether it be, plays or, try to do TV or movies or anything like that? Or is that kind of in your wheelhouse at all?
So it's something that I want to do. It's something that I've always thought about, but I grew up in a house where it was like, go to school, get a good education, get a realistic job. So I would never have had the balls to like tell my parents when I was a kid, I want to be an actor. Cause like, it would not have gone well. But I think now that I'm kind of like having a little bit of success with this and with comedy, and a lot of my friends, like, I'll turn on the TV and watch something and be like, yo, that's my buddy. The guy who won Big Brother Canada, is a comedian that I've done a million shows with. If you watch the Burger King
That's
commercials
awesome.
here, every single one of them in the last Burger King commercial are comedians that I know personally. So it is something that I would like to do. I want to reach out and get a commercial agent, and especially I have time now. I'm self-employed and I live an hour from Toronto. So it's like, I do want to do that. It's funny that you asked that because I've never really like talked about this publicly, but it is something I definitely want to get into 100%.
It's funny that you bring up Big Brother, because that's always been my guilty pleasure, and I've applied like 15 times, and I've always wanted to get on Big Brother just because I feel like my personality is, I'm enough of a chameleon that I could, weasel my way through, and I have no problems lying straight to your face if it means I'm going to win $500,000 or whatever the hell they win.
100,000 in Canada. It's such a joke. It's 100,000 here. So
but yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because that's another one of our little niche things that we watch is Big Brother.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. I watched it when I was a kid, like with the first few seasons, and my mom and my sister still watch it. But yeah, I've known a few people who actually, I knew 2 people who were going to be on it before COVID, and then they recast it. And I had no idea this guy, Cedric, that I've done shows with him before. I had no idea he was even on it. And I just saw someone say, "Hey, congratulations to your boy." Said, I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I know that guy. I didn't even know he was on it." And it's like already finished.
No, that's great, man. And it seems super interesting, just the whole community, and I think that's comedy has an allure to me because it's like a family that you exist within, and depending on what area you're in, every area, it's like a little gang.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that you kind of got to break into, and again, going back to what we were talking about, hobbies and things like that. There's going to be those people that are gatekeepers, and there's going to be people like the way that you described. They're like, "Hey, man, it's your first time doing this. Like, come on, like let's go grab a drink. Like, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be cool, even if you suck. Like, whatever." I get a kick out of stuff like that, man.
Yeah, we have a comedy club downtown, and I can walk to it from my house. It's kind of a long walk, but I like it. And every Thursday, I used to go and just hang out with my friends, and we'd all go up and do our time and come back and like just get drunk and have fun. And it was like this like family. And then like COVID took that away from us. And then because everything is so strict here, I haven't seen anybody in forever. But then one of my buddies, who's a comedian, and one of the guys who has been doing it for longer than me and I looked up to, he showed up to my house like on Tuesday, and he brings me like a bottle of whiskey, and he's like, "Hey, congratulations." And it was like, man, this is why I love comedy so much. It's not even just like the act of doing it, which is so scary and fun and like just fulfilling, but it's also the community, because with Reptiles is another great example. There's not a lot of snake people out there, and there's even fewer comedians. The people who have the testicular fortitude, as you say, to actually do it, and then that drops down to the people who are good enough to continue doing it and want to do it because it is a grind. So you have like this thing in common, and it becomes like a brotherhood almost. Although there's like a lot of really funny chicks too, and it's like this, personhood, whatever. And I don't know, I'm trying to be politically correct on this podcast, but you get what I'm saying. And and it's like, it becomes like
we're pretty open on this podcast, Adam. You can say whatever you want. Like,
it's just, I don't know.
There's been offensive things.
But I think like this thing is like the same thing, right? Because you go to, like, I saw your video, Zach, you went to Arlington. I saw like part of Cusco's video, or maybe it was yours, where like you met Cusco and like everyone's talking to each other, everyone knows each other. And I've never been able to really do that with Reptiles because I live in prison and can't leave anywhere. But with comedy, it's like, oh, you're a comedian, and all of a sudden, you have this bond. And with Reptiles, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, you're a reptile guy, cool. What do you keep? Like how like. For most people, like then you get like the guys with the ponytails and like they live in their mom's basement and stuff, and they're not like that. But most of us are like that.
Yeah, there's that comfort level that there's that immediate like, oh, the gates are down, because it's like, oh, we have this to share, and so there's this immediate connection. And the first time I experienced it was with bartending. You meet other bartenders, and it's like, oh, you've seen some shit, So that's
really a cool one too.
I asked about the comedy thing.
Yeah, because like, well, I like drinking at bars. I've never been a bartender, but it seems like, and there's probably a lot of them too, right? So it's probably not even like super rare that you get to. So you probably get to like meet other bartenders all the time.
Constantly, yeah. And even that, there's like tiers, like there's layers to that shit, because there's that laughable time where it's like you meet a bartender and it's like, oh, you like bartended at Applebee's because you tipped me like $1 on a $20 tab, and bragged about being a bartender the whole time you're here, and that was the only topic you brought up and that kind of thing. But I'm sure there's some experience with that in comedy and things like that. So, it's weird, but no, it's fun. It's a great, just to be a part of a community. So
it's cool when you meet somebody and before they tell you that they're part of the same thing as you, right? Whether it be like, cars or comedy or whatever. It's like I'll meet people who are comedians and I'll know before they say it, or I'll meet reptile people and know before they say it. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like this bond that you don't really have with other people, not normal people, but like other people who aren't into that same sort of thing. So yeah, it's like part of like any hobby or lifestyle, right? But which is different, right? Because like if you're a bodybuilder and you look at another, like like you can't hide it, like
sure.
But
clearly,
with comedy, like you can't tell, right? Because like I could look at you and you could be a snake guy or a figure skater, like I don't know, right? You can't tell just by looking at you. So it is kind of like a cool thing. Not saying you look like a figure skater, by the way, but I mean you could be.
I mean, hey, it's possible.
He's saying you need more Trimbolone in your life, Zach.
You look like you have very nimble ankles, is what I'm trying to say. Very dexterous legs.
No, man, I really hope that I really hope everything goes through for you as far as your immigration coming down to the States, man. 'Cause it'd be awesome to have you at the shows with us. Like have you ever gotten that opportunity to come to like a Tinley or an Arlington or any of those type things but before COVID?
No, like I went to everyone in Toronto. We're lucky we have one a month here basically, but at the start of COVID, I had like 10,000 subscribers or something like that. So I was like a nobody, and I wasn't about to just go to a Tinley and wait in line for 8 hours to like go to, and fly and the whole thing. So I think it'd be different now. And I would definitely go now 100%, even before I can move, as soon as things open up, right? I'm booked for my vaccine. I'm getting it, like whether I didn't really want it, but whatever. I know I can't leave without it. Yeah. So I'm booked for it. And then in September, I'll be fully vaccinated. And if the borders open, I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to Tinley and I'm in October if they have it. And I'm going to go to wherever else, right? I'm going to spend a lot of time, hopefully in, Florida and doing collaborations and stuff in the winter. So I don't have to be here freezing my nuts off for half the year. So I want to do all those things, but I've never had the opportunity. And then now I'm legally not allowed to do those things.
Yeah.
So do you guys know what about the COVID protocol in Canada? What you have to, so if you leave and you come back, you have to get your COVID test, and then you have to be in a hotel, which is picked by the government, which ones you're allowed to be for 3 days, which are all expensive and you pay for. And then you have to have another COVID test. I was going to
say, yeah.
And if that COVID test comes back positive, then you have to go to a government facility for 14 days. So literally to leave and go to the States, I might have to go to jail for 2 weeks. I'm not even joking. This is a real thing.
It's insane, man.
Yeah, it is insane. And that's why I want to leave this place. But that's why I haven't been able to leave, is because even if I did fly, because I'm not allowed to drive over, even though I live 20 minutes from the border, but I could fly if I want. So stupid. When I come back, I have to quarantine for 3 to 17 days and pay for it. So that's why I haven't been able to.
And they're tracking all that shit. And
it's just, it's ridiculous. So, but anyway, man,
everything I've heard about has been absurd.
Yeah, so I'm getting the poke, I'm getting the vaccine, whatever, and then that way, whenever stuff opens up, I know this stupid country is going to have a passport, right? It's going to be like, oh, if you're vaccinated, you can do stuff. If you're not, then you can't. So I'll be one of the ones that can, and I'm ready, man. I'm ready to get this, like the show on the road. I've been inside forever, and I work from home now, and I barely see people. I don't know the last time I started my truck, and I'm going a little bit crazy. Yeah. So that's why every opportunity I get to talk to Lens, talk to people, it's nice, man. It's nice to talk to other human beings.
Yeah, for sure. And I was lucky throughout the whole pandemic. Like when it first started, I was working in Houston, and I do industrial construction, and that was considered like essential. Yeah, it was considered essential. So I never missed a day's work throughout the whole thing. Like I was going the whole time, was always seeing people, always continuing my life. And like, it was funny because, in the South, Texas, Arkansas, it's always been a little more lax with the COVID thing than everywhere else. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really dawn on me until I flew up to Boston to go to Nerd, and me and Dave and Cusco and everybody flew up there, and then I actually saw like these people are legitimately locked the fuck up in their house, man. Like this is, you know, and like people where I'm from, they were complaining because they had to wear a mask to go here or there. Well, these people weren't. Everything was fucking closed. Like everything was closed, and it blew my mind. And I guess, you know, even though you see shit on TV or you see it on the internet and you're reading it, it doesn't really register with you until you see it in person. You know,
and
like,
it seems wild, dude. And that's the thing too, is like I never missed a day of work either because I sold welding wire. That's what I did before I quit and did this full time. And so that was like an essential thing, right? Because you still have to repair bridges and all this shit. So I never missed a day of work, and I worked from home for a while, and then I went back to the office. And I didn't really like the job, but I liked the people. So it was nice. And then I started doing this, and it was cold, and Canadian winters suck, dude. They suck so bad. And you're inside all the time, and you don't see people. And I go and check my P.O. box, and I'm the weird guy that's starting conversations with people in the shut down mall. And it's like people don't want to talk to you. Man, I was like the old lady that's like, huh, can I have a like, you know what I mean? I'm one of those guys now because I don't see people, you know, and it'd be worse. Can you imagine being a single dude who lives by himself in like in a place where it's locked down? You can't see, like, I can't even imagine. That must be so brutal.
No, I can't. I mean, you know, not to be depressing, but you know, that's why fucking suicide rates and shit were skyrocketing because, man, let's be honest, you know, there's some people that literally, whether they realize it or not, rely on the fact that they get to go out and experience the public on occasion, you know, because, you know, otherwise they're just stuck at home alone. So we'll see how the long-term effects of all that stuff kind of works out for them. But
when they open up expos here, bro, it's the line is going to be around the block. Everyone is itching to get out, and it's great because, like, for comedy, I know that I'm going to have an audience to go to, right? I know that people are going to pack because I run a show as well, right? So I run my own show, and it was like very difficult to get people out during COVID, obviously. But now everyone's going to be itching to get out. So I know I'm going to have full crowds. I know anywhere I go, there's going to be a full crowd. I know when I go to an expo, it's going to be like full of people, and I can't wait, man. People are going to have like this like renewed sense of, oh yeah, all this could be taken away in a heartbeat. And I think it's going to like make people better, hopefully, to a certain extent. And I'm trying to be like positive about it, but I know for me, it's like I won't ever take for granted being able to shake someone's hand again without them looking at me like, dude, I'm not, you have the plague, I'm not touching you. You know what I mean? So
seeing smiles, man. Like seeing smiles is the big thing, like, because there's so much that can be relayed to another human just by the simple smirk on somebody's face. And, you know, walking down the street or walking into a store or whatever, and you can see cheekbones move behind the masks, but actually getting to see a smile on somebody's face, it means so much, you know, to me. And like, it's crazy to think that we missed out on that for a year and a half, you know, and just simple gestures like that, shit that you don't realize means so much to you until it's taken away from you.
And it's not normal, dude. It's not like, listen, I'm not an anti-mask or anti-vaxxer, none of that, right? If I'm getting my vaccine, when people come in my house, I got a guy come and quote a gas fireplace. I wear a mask, even, you know, if they don't want me to, if they don't ask me to in my own house. But at the same time, it's like, I can't wait for that to be over because it's not normal. It's not normal to go out and not be able to shake hands or hug your friends, or like here we're doing this thing when we tried to open up in like the summer last year, where it's like, oh, you can only go to a restaurant with your household. It's like, okay, well then you can't go meet your friends at a bar anymore. Like, it's not
can't go socialize.
Yeah, it's not normal. And I remember the first time
I mean, we're social creatures. Like, humans are social creatures. Right. And, you know, even way back in, you know, Neanderthal times, like, being banished was the worst form of torture, you know, like banishment. And we're designed to be able to live communally and live in groups and, you know, interact with each other. And isolation's fucking terrible.
Well, what's the worst thing they can do with you in jail? They can put you in solitary confinement. It's the worst thing. That's the worst punishment. So that's what everybody is going through right now, right? So I think that's the crazy thing where people are like, we're not asking that much. We're only asking you to do the most unnatural thing that humans have ever been asked to do. And it's like, but because they do it slowly, It like people are okay with it. But if you open your eyes and you unplug yourself from the matrix and realize what's happening, you realize how wrong it really is. But I don't want this to be all doom and gloom. I am optimistic that we're going to come out of this, and not in this country. This country is fucked. We are going to be in this for a long time, but that's why I'm trying to leave and go to a more realistic place with actual freedoms like Texas, where, you know, like you can defend yourself in your home and not be sent to jail if you kill an intruder. You know what I mean? Like a place where you can go and not wear a mask on your bike if you're going for a bike ride. Like I want to live in a place like that. And I think that I'm very optimistic that life will return to normal in some parts of realistic places of the world.
Well, dude, I hope that everything goes through and you bring your ass to Texas, because I'm one state away and we'll do a lot of hanging out and have a good time. And
I can't wait, dude.
The reptile community in Texas is fucking amazing. Like, it's so many good people down there. And you'll be welcomed with open arms into this country and that state. I guarantee it.
Well, everything I understand is like people are super friendly there, right? Like where I live now, like I live close enough to Toronto and Niagara Falls and like all these tourist places where it's like if you talk to someone on the street that you don't know, it's like, is this guy in bath salts? Why is this guy talking to me? Like, I don't know this guy, right?
Yeah.
Where there, it's like, well, it's like kind of the East Coast. Like I went to Nova Scotia a few years back, and everyone says hi to you. Everyone talks to you. And all these videos that I watch, what's life like in Austin, what's life like in Dallas, like all these places. And that's like, it seems like everyone is super nice and friendly and wants to talk to you. And it's not, and that's what I want, man. Like that's what I don't know. I want to live in a place like that where it's not weird to like talk to your neighbors. I lived in a place, the last house I just sold, I lived there for 6 years. I met the neighbor that was beside me one time, and he acted like it was inconvenient to talk to me. And I don't really want to live in a place like that. That's what this place
uncomfortable.
Is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
everybody's just like, I just want to keep myself, whatever the fuck. And Texas is definitely not that way. And I'll just tell you, man, you know, I my first NARBC show was September last year. And, you know, it was still masks and the whole thing. And, you know, I showed up. I had never been. It was my first ever NARBC show. And, man, I was welcomed with open arms, first of all. But I was still uncomfortable. You know, I didn't know these people, you know, like I was still just like kind of keep people at arm's length or whatever. But, man, this past NARBC, I mean, literally, I couldn't sit still for 2 seconds.
Well, you guys look like you had a great time from all the videos that I got to watch sitting at home, sulking that I wasn't part of it. But yeah,
I can't even put it into words. I mean, you know, there were so many highlights. I mean, from literally ending up sitting in the hotel lobby at 3:30 in the morning, drinking beer with Warren Booth, you know, and talking snakes and biology and all kinds of crazy shit. I mean, you know, you would absolutely be a gem to have on this side of things. And man, I am you know, just listening to you talk about your future goals and where you kind of see yourself. I'm fucking excited, man. I'm excited for you because I know that it's going to work out. I know that eventually you're going to make your way over here. And it's like, fuck, you know, look at the success that you've had under such tight constraints of your time and your ability to travel. I'm so stoked to see you fucking just take off, man. You know, the second that you're free to do what you need to do, like, I'm stoked to see where you take things. And I think that I'm also excited to see the impact you're going to have. Because like you said, you know, I think you're the middle ground, the happy middle ground between a lot of these guys that are very popular, that are very much promoting the hobby, but are not necessarily doing it 100% right? You know, and again, that's neither here nor there, and that's kind of, you know, splitting hairs, but still, I think that you do things a lot of the time the right way, and I think that given the next year even, your channel, man, is going to be tremendous for sure.
That's the goal, man. It seems like a dream. Like you guys, and I watch these videos and you're talking about how you're like sitting up talking to people, and I've watched like a bunch of your videos collaborating when you went to Nerd and you're hanging out with like Costco and all those guys, and it's like, you know, you're having drinks with Garrett and stuff, and I've never got to experience that ever. Like I've been to a million expos, but I've never been in, you know what I mean? And it seems like you don't even need to have a big channel to be in or anything like that, as long as like you're doing the right thing and promoting the right message. And that's what I think is so cool about this, because like I am hustling, I am working my bag off to get this channel, you know, like to the place where I have a silver play button on the back wall, things like that. But at the end of the day, like my my goal is to be respected and in with the community. And I'm not talking about these dum-dums, World of Ball Pythons. I'm talking about like the guys who are respected. I want to be part of like that crew.
Yeah.
And the reason that I want to be part of that crew is because that shows to myself that I'm spreading a positive message and I'm doing exactly what I'm trying to do. Where, I mean, if those guys don't like you, then there's a reason for it and you got to change things up. And as far as I know, like I've been on Cusco's podcast and I've talked to Dave and talked to all these guys, and it seems like, I just, and you know, Garrett and all these guys are amazing. They're all great for the limited contact I've had. And it'd be cool to like go to, you know, a Tinley or something like that and be able to, you know, shake their hands and be like, hey, I feel like I know you. We never met. And then, you know, just kind of take it from there. And I saw you and Cusco and at that thing, and it was like, man, I was like so jealous. I'm like, why, you know, I'm sitting here. I can't leave my house for fear of getting pulled over. But, you know, you guys are all without masks and hugging and, you know, living a normal life. So, it's a jealousy thing for sure.
I'll tell you this, man, like the Reptile Expos, the big shows that we go to. And so the actual Reptile Expo is only a quarter of the experience, you know, like it's awesome getting to go and see all the animals and, you know, see what people's projects they're working on, but it's more like a family reunion, you know, like you get to see these people that you only get to see 1 or 2 times a year, a couple times a year. And, you know, you gotta, it's after they close the show and everybody's hanging out and like you look across and you're like, oh hell, there's whoever that is, you know, and you get to go over there and you have that experience. And you know, I've been blessed and lucky with the fact that me and Brian Cusco became such good friends, and I got to experience hanging out with Forrest Fanning. And, you know, I've gotten to meet a lot of awesome people. And what you're saying, man, like it's that camaraderie that makes the shows what they are. And it's the best feeling in the world to have that connection by creatures. You know, that's why Zach and I named what it is, because you just build upon it and it just exponentially grows. And you have that basis of reptiles, but it becomes a family. And, you know, like I would literally do anything for Zach and Brian and Garrett and all those guys. Like they are like family to me now. And man, I guarantee and once you get your ass over here and you get to go, you're going to fall right in place.
It's going to happen fast. It's going to happen quick to the point you're going to be uncomfortable, because that's how it was for me at Arlington. The second time around, Adam, like, I showed up and I told somebody, I was like, I've been here for like a day and I haven't paid for a single drink. And I'm like, I don't even necessarily know the people that are buying me drinks, but they're just like, oh yeah, like we're here, and like, what do you want? Like, you know, it's that big of a family, brother. I'm so happy to hear that your goal is to come down this way.
I want to be part of it, man. And like, even if like the immigration thing takes a while, I'll still go. I'm at a point, like, this is what I do for a living. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Yeah, I started this channel and now it pays the bills. And because of that, I can choose if I want to go for a week to Tinley, I can. And that was kind of like a big thing that was holding me back before. Well, like I didn't have no one knew who I was, first of all, but I also had a day job. Yeah. So I was working 45 hours at a day job. And then I was doing this, which is like oftentimes 60 hours a week. So I didn't have time. I couldn't leave, you know, and now I've got the opportunity. I have more freedom than I've ever had in my life, but also at the same time, I have no freedom because I live in jail.
No freedom.
So, you know what I mean? So I want to, and I will, as soon as I have the opportunity to go to an Arlington, to go to a White Plains, to go to a Tinley, I don't care. I will go to any and all of them. I'll be happy to do it. And I can't wait, man. Just like me, especially the expos are great, but that's not even what I think about. I don't even think about like, oh, I get to see, you know, like gaboons sitting on tables, which we don't have here. I'm thinking more like, I get to go and shake Cusco's hand. I get to go meet Zach. I get to go meet these guys. And it's like something that here is awesome as well. Like I get to meet like a Carrie and Barros and stuff like that. And that's awesome. That's my favorite part about expos, you know, and like having people come up to you and be like, bro, I watch your channel and it's because of you that I convinced my mom to get a crested gecko and my mom doesn't hate lizards anymore. That is the greatest compliment ever. Hey, bro, I think you're funny. I like your videos, whatever. I don't care. If you're telling me that was a part of changing someone's attitude and opinion about reptiles, that is the coolest thing in the world to me. And that is like, I love that. I will never get tired of that. I wish I could have a line around the block of people being able to tell me stuff like that, because it's like a motivating factor to keep going too, especially when the channel wasn't really taking off like it was, and it was kind of like, what am I doing? You get a couple comments like that, and it's like, okay, all right, I get it. I'm not making any money doing this, but I'm getting that. And that's the thing that kind of like kept it going in the early stages, and it still keeps it going to this day.
I don't think that could have been said any better. Like that was perfect.
You caught me speechless for a second, which is telling you that it's really a problem, because I can.
Yeah, you can't get Zach speechless.
Anybody doesn't know.
Yeah, I've watched your channel a few times. I know.
And like with that being perfect, I want to use it as a segue to do our weekly things that we do every week, and number one being band or musician of the week. Mm-hmm. And this is always our favorite segments because it just brings up so much shit. So it could be past, present, whatever. Band or musician of the week. Adam, who you got?
Oh, I get to pick.
Yeah, we'll all give an example, and it's just whoever you've been listening to, or who you think our audience should listen to.
Okay, so I've been a metalhead forever, but recently, for some reason, I've been listening to like a lot of like recent hip hop. So I would say like artist of the week for your channel this week is Mac Miller. Dead, nice. But yeah, man, I'm a metalhead. My favorite band of all time is Slipknot, but I've been listening to Mac Miller like a lot recently. Especially like I've been listening for 10 years, but I don't know. I've listened to Swimming like 4 times this week.
Any specific album?
Swimming, 100%. Like I know that everyone's like, oh, what's the last one? That's the one that everyone knows. Blue Slide Park is awesome too. Kids is wicked, but I think that Swimming, it was his last one. I think it's the best one that he ever put out, and I think every track is a banger on it.
Yeah, he went deep. In other words, like, and that's I tell people that too. I'm a metalhead, but I also love hip hop, or just literally anything as long as lyrically it goes deep. And that was the thing about Mac Miller that I think a lot of people didn't appreciate sometimes, how deep his shit went. You know, just
well, you know how they do that
true poetry.
Like, it's like Band on a Couch or whatever, right? And he did that set.
Yes.
And
yes. Tiny Desk, right?
Yeah, Tiny Desk. Yeah. And the Canadian version is Band on a Couch, Tiny Desk. And I watched that like a few times, and like I don't get like goosebumps, I don't get choked up listening to music. And I watched that like several times, and I'm like, this is a different thing, dude. And I know a lot of people will, because he was born in 92, so he died when he was like 26. So, which is like a little bit short of the 27 club. And people are all, well, what is, he was nothing. He was just this fly by night. And it's like, well, no, he started, he was famous in 2008 when he was like in high school.
Yeah.
And listening to like his music is, man, there's something to it. It's not like all these mumble rappers and like, bitches and money. And like, it's not about that.
Yeah.
And, man, the evolution as well. Like if you listen to Kids and then you listen to like Good AM, if you listen to like the progression and all the way up to the culmination of Swimming, and even the album after, like his posthumous album, I think it's like crazy to watch a person grow. And like, it's another thing like podcasts where I've never met these people, but you feel like you know them a little bit. And then you can kind of like see, like the references and things like that. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that's of all, if I had to do a top 10 albums of all time, that album would for sure be in there, surrounded by also a bunch of music that your grandma would kill you for listening to. But I think Mac Miller would definitely be part of it.
No, I love that answer. And I love the fact that you again highlighted, like you said, like I loved him from start to finish, but it was just a matter of, he was one of those people, like at such a young age, the depth of his poetry and his music was so well beyond that of a teenager, which should kind of tell you that there was maybe, people that experience trauma and experience life in general heavily end up being the most poetic and artistic people the earliest, because they've lived the most for that age. And I think anybody that doesn't see that in his music, and obviously it's proven now, I think, over his career, and just got deeper and deeper and deeper, even though he was so young. Yeah, it should be black and white to anybody to understand why he's
with different disciplines as well. Like because I ask my comedian friends all the time, even professional, like high end, like everyone knows who they are, comedians, and you ask like, who's your influences?
Yeah.
They'll list all comedians. But if you ask me that question, like I'll say like, you know, Burr and like all these guys, but also it's AC/DC, it's you know, it's musicians as well. Or like I think of all of them too, like you can take a piece out of, I've been listening to a lot of Biggie recently as well. And that's something that I listened to when I was like younger. And then I like, it's just one of those things where it's just so good. And the flow is the best of all time. And when I write jokes and I try to have like a certain flow, and like, I don't sound like Biggie or anything like that. I'm just saying that you can have a signature cadence about you. And I learned that from listening to that music. So I listen to comedians and I listen to music and whatever else, but I think that the way I put things together is you can take from different disciplines, even like athletics. And I think without music and like those music influences, I wouldn't be as good of a comedian, and I definitely wouldn't be as good as this, because if there's anything that holds this thing together is most of the time through lots of edits and lots of takes, I can kind of like pretend to string a sentence together. But I think that's just because of the influences that I listen to. The best speakers of all time. Martin Luther King is another guy. Malcolm X. I listen to those guys in their speeches. Charlie Chaplin. That's another one too. He had the greatest speech of all time. He was a silent actor. He's known for not speaking, and he had the greatest speech of all time. So I listen to guys like that, right? And that, I think that is kind of what translates into the ideas and the way to explain things, and kind of like my style of being able to talk. This is a terrible example, but I mean, I get to cut it up in videos and pretend that I'm better at this than I am.
It's not, because I was going to say, I feel like you're now actually answering a question we asked you earlier in the stream, in terms of what actually made you a success. And you just told us, whether you realized it or not, exactly why you're a success, because you've been taking notes mentally, whether you realize it or not, from everywhere, taking inspiration from everything, even things that aren't related to comedy or aren't related to bodybuilding. You've taken the lessons that you've learned from those messages and applied them to your own life in terms of what you actually want to do for yourself. And I think, to me, and I hope to all of us that are listening, I think that's one of the most inspirational things that anyone could ever say, is that you can find inspiration in literally anything and everything, but you have to listen. If you listen to the words, it's like, Adam, you'll be able to attest to this, and Bradley as well. Metal scares a lot of people right away because they're like, oh, it's so intense and blah, blah. But there's some emotion that you can gain from that. And there's something you can learn from it, even if you don't necessarily understand it right away. And there's pieces that you can take away. And you could turn a metal album into a country album if that's the way that you want to express that same message. And maybe that metal album inspired you to feel that way. But people don't talk about that stuff, man. There's this energy exchange that's just constant.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. And that's why I kind of I think Mac Miller, like if you listen to like that album and then you listen to like Duality by Slipknot, right? Which is like one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yes.
And they're a very different thing. It's not the same thing at all, but
not
it's the
close,
same,
but
yeah, it's this similar emotion. It's just presented in a different way. And that's why I think man, I used to listen when I was bodybuilding. The last week before a competition is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
There is nothing that even compares. Your body is tricking you. You're waking up every hour because your body knows you don't have enough calories. And I did it without steroids too. So your testosterone level goes down to the point where you can barely sleep. You can barely stay awake. You're definitely not getting boners. It's the fucking worst. And it's like, it's the worst. So I think that if you listen to like this external motivation, I used to listen to like Ray Lewis speak, or like Earl Thomas's, and you listen to that, but then that you have similar messages in music. It's just not as in your face. And like, do you want success as bad as you want to breathe? It's like, it's a very different, right? Like way of putting it. And I think that a lot of people just kind of like in one ear and out the other, but I don't know. I don't think I'm like any like different or better than anybody else. Like to be able to pick up these messages, it's just like, I think certain things resonate with certain people, and a lot of people just don't really give those things a chance. I used to be like dead set, I'm never going to listen to hip hop, like, you know what I mean? And then now you like do that, and it's like, okay, well, this is like the same thing it's just presented in a different way. And
Yes.
yeah, I think that people just need to be like open-minded of what they listen to. And I think a lot of my friends who are comedians who watch this channel, like watch, and they start watching like a snake. My dad watches Snake Discovery now. My dad's never owned a snake. My dad doesn't like lizards. He watches Snake Discovery because he watched me and he's like, well, I like this channel. You know what I mean? So I think that it's just like, you have to be open-minded to new influences.
I love that. I love that answer so much.
I think that what you're saying, you have to allow yourself to do that though. Like I think a lot of people put these barriers and blockades up because of some pre-idea that they have about a certain thing. Because I was the same way. Like when I was younger, like I always was like, I'll listen to this and listen, but I'm not listening to country music. But like I have a bigger respect for country music now than I did when I was younger, if nothing else, but for the storytelling. Like, and I'm not talking about like radio country that you hear now, like, Florida Georgia line bullshit, stuff like
Pop
that.
country.
Like, like old school country music. Like those guys were great storytellers, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and I don't like country. I don't listen to country, but like if you listen to like Randy Travis, it's like, oh, okay, I get why people like
Chris
this.
Ledoux.
Yeah, like I'll never listen to Taylor Swift. Like there's no way, right? I'd rather rip my left nut off and throw it in a river than listen to an album. But I think that I don't know. There's certain guys, and like you said, like the older type thing. But yeah, you just gotta be like open-minded to different things and like to take the message along. Because at the end of the day, like everyone thinks, oh, you listen to metal. Like, what do? You have upside down crosses. Like, what do you like? You jerk off in a closet. What are you doing? You fucking freak. But it's not like that at all. It's like it's a different thing. And I think hip hop's the same thing. Are you a drug dealer? You're driving one of those cars that bounces up and down. It's like no, it's just it's like a different message. It's a different way to present it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody just needs to listen to the lyrics of the things that they're hearing. Not to take anything at face value. Listen to the meaning. Listen to what the person is saying, and then try to interpret what it meant to them to write that down. Because it's just like comedy. I love comedy for that because it's like there was a meaning, there was an experience, there was something in that person's life and that affected their brain to where they wrote this thing. And I love to conceptualize like what is it that led them there, how did you get here, and that's what makes it amazing. Not just the fact that it makes me laugh, but I love to think about the process that led them to that stuff. And maybe I'm just weird that way, but
no, I think the greatest example of that is, so Bill Burr did like the storytelling show in 2002. So he was like, no one knew who he was. And it was a storytelling show, and it wasn't really about comedy. And I think it was at Emerson College, which is where he graduated. And he did this. He told this story about how his dad gave him a doll for Christmas. And it was like this 13-minute story. And he's like crying on stage. Like he's like welling up with tears.
Yeah.
He's taking breaks.
Yeah.
And it's not comedy.
Fully
and
committed.
Then you watch Paper Tiger, which came out in 2019, which someone asked, what's my favorite comedy special of all time? Paper Tiger, followed by Jammin' in New York, 1992, George Carlin. But I think Paper Tiger, so in Paper Tiger, he tells the story again, but because I knew that and I watched this video, which only has like 40,000 views. So not a lot of people have watched this. And I watched that years ago. And then now I see him do that bit on stage as a bit rather than that story where he's crying and he's laughing and everyone's laughing and I'm laughing. And it's like, okay, so you see where it comes from. And I think that's the cool thing about comedy, especially I go to 3 comedy shows a week at least when the world is open, and I see guys who are better than me, and I see them start with this turd and they polish it and polish it and polish it. And you watch this bit evolve, and then the next year it's like you can see the nugget where it started, and then all of a sudden now they took a turd of shit and they turned it into a Lamborghini, and then now they're getting on Just for Laughs or whatever huge comedy festivals we have here with that bit. So it is crazy, and it's the same thing with music too. I'm sure I don't really know a lot of musicians that well, but I'm sure that it's the same with other disciplines as well.
Absolutely. No, it absolutely is. So Bradley, you want to give us an idea, since we started off as this being the song of the week or band of the week, what is yours, sir? What you got going on over there?
Mine is actually just a specific album. It's the Bone Thugs and Harmony East 1999 Eternal album.
I've been listening to that all week. All week.
The reason why, like, I've also been listening to that all week, and dude, that's one of those albums that you can put it in and never hit skip. Like, you can, I mean, from the first song to the last, like, that album is just ridiculous, just all the way across the board. And I was watching an interview with Busy Bone, and he was talking about like how they came to be with Eazy-E and everything. And like, you know, they were just kids from Cleveland, and a friend of theirs got them in touch with a couple people, and they packed up and hauled ass and went to LA, and they were all scared to fly. So they took a bus to LA, and they wound up getting like a map to the stars thing and found Tone Loc's house, knocked on Tone Loc's door, let him listen to it, and he was like, yeah, this shit's dope, but there's nothing I can really do for you right now, guys. And they were staying with this woman, and like had missed a call from Eazy-E that was supposed to be their thing. So they had to wait until Eazy-E came and played in Cleveland, and they forced their way backstage and was like, hey, we were the guys that you were talking to on the phone. And like, then they got signed and did all that shit. But like, man, to me, like, the way that like just the song East 1999 comes in, like, that's how hip hop should sound to me. Like, that's just quintessential hip hop to me. Like, you've got all the different guys with their different styles of rapping, their own, you know, you got the really fast style, and then you've got kind of the swag, and it's just a badass album, man. Like, East 1999 Eternal.
Fortune favors the brave is kind of like that in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
You have to have testicular fortitude, as you said at the top of the show there, to make anything happen. And yeah, I mean, I love stories like that. Those are I've never heard that story until you said that, but that is very interesting. And I think that's kind of like the quintessential, like, if you want to go anywhere, because if they never did that, then, you know, you would never know. Right. So I think that it's one of those things where you just kind of have to like grab life by the horns, and I don't know, that's cool, man. That's like a very inspiring thing. I feel like all jacked up listening to that.
Yeah, man. And I mean, they're just fucking awesome musicians too. So Zach, who's your band of the week?
I was gonna say, so mine this week, I'm so amped on. You guys always know I get super passionate about this section, as if I don't talk passionately about everything else. But this week it's serious. So there's a lesser known band called Next Time Mr. Fox. I posted about them on Instagram. They popped up randomly on a playlist of mine on Spotify, just like a random suggested band. The song that I love is called Basilisk, and they're like kind of a fucking heavy, like, chug metal band. And I'm telling you, like, I literally, like I said, I posted about them on Instagram and I tagged them, and they like messaged me back like, oh, thanks so much for your support, blah blah. Like, their number one, which is that song Basilisk, only has 63,000 plays on Spotify, which is like nothing compared to what I think it should be. I mean, they're super intense. They just released a new single today, and I'm just really excited to see where these guys take things, because, like I said, that one song alone, I was like, I got to see more, I got to know more, I got to hear more. Yeah, Mindy, yeah, thank you. Mindy said, yeah, she loves them because of me. Yeah, like, seriously, you know, there's just, this came on a random playlist, this particular song Basilisk, and it was just like, man, it's just super heavy, chug kind of slow but fast. Like, it's just intense. I love any kind of music or whatever that just gets my hair standing on end, and, you know, gets you an adrenaline rush or whatever, whether that be metal or country, you know, because at the same time, like, I've been listening to like some weird country, you know, Tyler Childers, and I've been listening to Bright Eyes this week. Like, my music's all over the place. You guys know how I am. So
it's like
that's what I got to nominate this week.
Man, there's sometimes like You know, it's funny. There's this guy, this band that keeps showing up in my just on Spotify, like in these lists, right? That you don't pick.
Yeah.
Called Rust. So I've been listening to this band for like, I don't know, half a year, whatever, and favorited all their songs. I noticed they don't like have a lot. And there's this guy, Tommy Wood, who keeps messaging me. He's messaging, hey man, if you need videos of retics, you know what I mean? I got this bearded dragon, all this stuff. Yeah. And he lives like in my city. And we've been talking. And then I realized I put it together 6 months after I started talking to this guy and listening to this band. This guy's the front man for this band, and their jam space is 3 blocks away from my house. Like so crazy. Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy, man. Like a small world, but I always thought it was weird. I'm like, man, this band only has like, 6,000 plays on some of their stuff. It's like, how is that even possible? Oh, yes. It's because they're in the middle of nowhere where I live, and that's and they've been shut down because of COVID. So yeah, it's crazy. Like sometimes just because they don't have a lot of plays doesn't mean that they're not great.
100%. Man, it was funny because literally I shared them spontaneously before I even looked at like their play count, and then like I shared it, and then they like replied to me on Instagram like directly. They were like, "Oh my god, like thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I didn't realize how small you guys were." Again, not like in a negative way, but just like I genuinely didn't realize that this was not like a known band because their sound was that big, and so I hope that they took that as much of a compliment as what it was, and I told them, like I'm sharing all y'all shit, and they were like, wait till Friday, we got a new single dropping, and blah blah. Like that kind of stuff excites me. I think, Adam, the way that it excites you, where I reached out looking for guidance very early in my YouTube career, and it's exciting when you can help someone. It's exciting when that someone appreciates the things you're doing. And dude, that's what it's all about. Like, and honestly, I think that is what Bradley and I are trying to do here. That is what all of us are trying to do in general. Is just like not even reptile related, like nothing to do with animals or literally fucking anything, but just as humans. Like, I think our goal, or at least mine, is just, can I have a positive effect before all this shit is over with?
I think that's like I think that transcends reptile channels to anything else. At the end of the day, like, what are you doing it for? And if you have a positive message, can you spread it? I just think it's particularly important in what we do, because it's like people are always gonna have animals, but if you looked at the way that people kept animals even like 40 years ago, you can never do that now. So I think that spreading a positive message, and that's why I think it's particularly important here. Like, comedy is great and all this stuff, but I mean, if I'm bad at comedy and someone else, like, they're all, no animals are dying, but if I'm bad at animal care and I'm perpetuating that, and other people are taking advice from me and they're bad at animal care, well, then I am responsible in part for killing a bunch of animals. So I think it's just a different thing, right?
Yeah, the effect, the touch, your touch on the world, your effect on the world extends further, both ways, whether that be positive or negative, depending on what you put out there, which again, obviously I think you're having a great impact and all that. But Bradley, what else we got as far as our segments?
So we got 2 more quick segments, Adam. The next one is movie or TV show of the week. And we've done everything from like silent films to brand new anime. What should our viewers watch?
So this is like not a surprise to anybody. I'm sure you might have even talked about this. I just finished watching Ozark for the second time, and
Ozark's dope.
Man, I love that. Like, it's right up there with, like, I think Breaking Bad might be the best show that was ever made. It's like right up there with that. And I don't know, man, Bateman I watched a few of his like recent things, and I'm so stoked for season 4, but I finished for the second time. And I don't know, man, I love shows like that where it's like this slow burn and very smart. I love National Treasure when it came out, because it's just like so smart, so clever. And just the way that it's put together. And I love shows and movies about like drugs and gangs, because it's something I will never, like, my real life will never intersect with that. So it's cool to see like the other side and see it from like a normal, because that whole show, like, spoiler alert, it's a normal guy who gets like drug into like laundering money for a drug cartel. Well, you figure that out in the first episode, but and it's like, oh, that's crazy. Like, it'll never happen to me. I mean, unless all of a sudden, like, I have to sell, bearded dragons for cocaine or something, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And I just think it's like a really cool show.
Yeah, that show's great.
It's amazing to experience something. In other words, like you said, that you may never or should probably never have to actually experience. But it's riveting for that same reason, for sure.
Exhausting to watch though. I just finished Your Honor.
It is.
Also, it's on well, I guess in the States it'd be Hulu. It's called Crave here, but Your Honor. It's who's the main guy from Breaking Bad? Bryan
Cranston.
Yeah, so it's like the judge and the kid kills like a mafia boss's kid, and they have to cover it up. It's one season. It's like a one-off. There's no second season, but man, that's another really good one. That's a good one. My girlfriend and I just finished watching that. That's like another really good one.
Noted for sure. Yeah, Cranston's he's an interesting guy, and I have some friends that actually met him in person, and they said he was just super nice and just just an impressive guy with a lot of energy. So it's always good to hear, right?
All right. Well, what am I watching? What are you guys telling me to watch?
What you got, Zach?
So my show, movie, whatever you want to call it, right now is Castlevania on Netflix. I always loved the Castlevania video games and the Castlevania show on Netflix. Literally season 1, it was like you could tell that Netflix was like, okay, we'll do this, but we're gonna roll the dice on it. We're not fully committed because I think the first season was like 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, wow.
And it's animated. It's an animated series. But the thing is, and for those who don't know me, it's Castlevania, so it's about Dracula, and spoiler alert, but like season 1 or season 1, the early episodes, like Dracula basically like already exists, he's already evil, and there's this woman that basically just braves meeting him. She's like, fuck it, I want to meet you because I want to help humanity because I know you have all this knowledge and information. And she becomes a doctor, and then she marries him and like kind of softens him and blah, blah, blah. And it is all just kind of downhill from there. But again, I never played the Castlevania video games a lot when I was a kid, but I was familiar with them, and I love vampires and that whole thing. And I just feel like, again, for an animated series, even they do an amazing job of telling a story. There's a lot of emotion involved. There's a lot of just light and dark and actually like transferable thought processes, from a show to real life, even though it's completely animated and unrealistic in terms of.
And like, also, even though it's animated and based off a video game, that's not a children's show. Like that, it's very adult.
Not even remotely. Yeah, and that's just the thing. It's very real. All the stuff that they show, and so no, it is, man. It's super entertaining. It's super fun, and it's definitely a different take on an interesting kind of concept in terms of just vampires and things like that. So I think their approach to Dracula and the whole thing, it's different, and so I would recommend it to anybody 100%.
I played Castlevania on Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
when I was a kid. Yeah, interesting. I had no idea there was a show.
Oh, dude, yeah, on Netflix, it's
if you
played it, especially, you're gonna appreciate it. I guarantee it. You're gonna appreciate it because I only saw some. We didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid and blah blah, and so my cousins had Castlevania on, I think, like Super Nintendo, and that's the other thing is it's such a long running franchise. I was really excited when the series came out, and now they're up to season 4 on it. So. That's the other nice part about it is there's a lot of episodes to watch, a lot to take in, and it's all just really good. It's really entertaining to do a good job of bringing some comedy and some relief and not being too serious the whole time. But it's brutal. There's a lot of blood and guts and gore and just it's fun. So that's my book for this week.
Before I give you my movie, I just want to share a little emotional thing real quick. About Castlevania. So when everybody knows that I was raised by my stepdad, it's like my dad. My stepdad's raised me since I was 4, and the only dad I've ever known. And when him and my mom first got together, our way of bonding was playing the original Castlevania game on Nintendo. Like that was our thing. So like hearing Castlevania hits really home for me. But my movie TV show of the week this week is on HBO Max, and it's a new show called Mayor of Easttown. and it's starring Kate Winslet. She's actually the executive producer, and it also has Evan Peters from American Horror Story. Uh, and it's she's the sheriff, or no, she's a detective of like a small town, and there's murders going on, and like little girls are disappearing, and they're finding dead bodies, and I can't binge watch all of it because it's happening right now. Like the new episodes are coming out every Sunday, so like I'm fucking frustrated as shit because I want to know what's happening and I gotta wait, and I'm not used to that anymore because of Netflix and everything. Now it's like you can watch the whole season as soon as it comes out, and like I'm actually having to wait for a TV show episode to come out like we used to. It's frustrating, but yeah, Mayor of Easttown.
They did that with The Last Dance last year too on Netflix, where it was like one episode a week, and it was like, what is this? Like, I have to come back every Tuesday to watch this. Like, what year is this? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man, it's crazy. Like I forgot that you had to do that shit.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Actually, I forgot about that. The Last Dance, that was good.
So, Adam, our last little thing that we're gonna do, and then we'll open up and take some quick questions if anybody has them. Is reptile of the week. It's just what reptile should our viewers go and check out, read about, look at the reptile you think is cool for them to see right now.
Bismarck ringed pythons. I think they're cool. They're underrated, and I'll do two: Bismarck ringed pythons and Angolan pythons. And I talked about them both in recent videos, but I think they're both super underrated, and a lot of people don't know what they are. And if you look at a baby Bismarck ringed python, like you can see why I throw them on so many thumbnails. People need to click through to see what they are. And they're not really great pets, but Angolan pythons are. And I think that if you're looking for something similar to a ball python, a little bit of a higher temperature, like just a little bit more, unique, I think that's so those are my two reptiles of the week.
Man, it's cool that you say that too, because I think Angolans get overlooked a lot, and I think they're badass snakes, man. I don't really know a whole lot about the Bismarcks, but like the Angolans, the only time I ever really even see Angolans anymore is when people do hybrids, like make the angry balls with ball
Yeah.
pythons. And like, dude, I'm not a hybrid fan. Like everybody knows, I'm not a hybrid guy, but like the the Angolans are badass, man. I'm glad you brought those up because, like, I think more people
Expensive.
need to check into them. Yeah, but they're
They're
cool.
expensive. Yeah, they're hard to find too. I've only seen them in real life like 2 or 3 times at expos, and they were like $600 for babies to start, for normals, right? Because I don't think there's any morphs that I know of for Angolans, but yeah, man, they're like you said, they're badass and they unique. I think you'll start to see them catch up in popularity.
You will. I think that's where the hobby is going in general, Adam. And I think that you're aware of this just based on the videos that you put out and kind of how you keep your finger on the pulse of the hobby and the industry or whatever you want to call it. I think that we're gonna start to see a lot of people drift away from like, oh well, I love reptiles, so I have to get into breeding ball pythons because that's how I'm gonna make money. I think that we're gonna start to see that turn into people saying, well, I love this particular species, and so I'm going to breed them and I'm going to talk about them and I'm going to make YouTube videos and TikToks and Instagram posts and blah, blah, blah about this animal because I think they're so freaking cool. And I think that because X, Y, and Z. And I think that I would personally recommend to anyone that's listening to this right now, chase that, please. Like if there's a species, like if you're thinking right now, if your brain is telling you like, oh, well, I want to breed ball pythons because that's what you have to do to be successful, turn that part of your brain off because it's not true. Don't listen to that part. The industry is definitely shouting that at a lot of people right now, and I understand that. I breed ball pythons myself, and I'm excited about them. But are they my primary species? No. Did they start out as my primary species? No, they never will be. They never have been. I think they're great. But my point is that if there's something you love, I mean, I think that Bradley and I talked about it, and Bradley, you can attest to this. the takeaway that we wanted to have from this stream with you of all people, Adam, was that if there's something you love, fucking chase it. And don't just chase it, but pour every ounce of time and energy and effort that you have into that thing. And you said it earlier, and I couldn't ask you to have scripted it better, Adam, and I appreciate that. That just genuinely have passion about the things that you love, and it will be successful. It's a guarantee. It's a guarantee. I promise you. Do not be nervous about the reptile hobby. Anything that you love, I don't care if it's these little, literally there are snakes or lizards that I could catch in my front yard tomorrow that I could build a market around. If you love it, just pursue it, and do it to the best ability that you have. And that's it. I mean, just love these animals. That's what we all share. And so yeah, I appreciate it, man. I was super excited to have you on already, and I've been super excited by so many things that you have said, Adam, and we just appreciate it, brother.
Hey man, I think you said it exactly right. You know, whatever you want to do in life, whether it's, you know, start a YouTube channel, start comedy, be a race car driver, be an astronaut, bungee jump, I don't care. Yeah. Whatever it is that you want to do, just do it. Just don't make excuses. Jump right into it, right? And you know, don't like, oh, maybe next week, maybe tomorrow. No, today. Sign up. You know, if you want to do an open mic, sign up today. Contact the booker today. If you want to start a YouTube channel, set up the Facebook page, set up the YouTube account, set up the Instagrams, film your first video tomorrow and tell yourself it has to be out on Monday. Like, just do things, because if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't be here. You'd have no idea who I am. So that I agree. What you said is the exact advice that I give everyone who messages me. Hey man, I'm thinking about, stop thinking and start doing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That's it. I want to drop the mic right there.
I got 2 questions or comments from the crowd, and then Adam we'll get you out of here. So All Canadian Reptile Girl says, congrats, Adam, on 100K subs. Great birthday present, eh? What did you do to celebrate?
Oh, well, thanks, Annalise. I appreciate it. So so for 100K, I just had pizza and wings and beer in my backyard, because that's the most legal thing you're allowed to do here. But
right.
For tomorrow, so I turn 30 tomorrow. It's my mom's birthday too, so I'll go see her. And Doug Ford, Canadian government. I will not go see my mother tomorrow because I know that's illegal. I will go and drop off flowers. I'm allowed to go to a crowded like a garden center with people I don't know, so I'll go there because that's safe. And then I'll load up my truck with flowers and then drop them off and not see my mother on her birthday. So that's what I'll do tomorrow. And then I've got a stream tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And that's when we're going to give away the 10 shirts and all that stuff. And, you know, if you guys want to, like, you know, partake, and we'll have some drinks together and, you know, do a Discord thing after. So that's how I'm celebrating, giving away shirts.
Awesome. Absolutely. And Professor Herp says, how much polish does Adam use on his head weekly? That's my question.
That's so funny coming from a guy who has a George Costanza haircut, John. I don't even know where you get the testicular fortitude to come and talk shit to me when it looks like you've got 2 ferrets on the side of your head, dude. You got to shave that. You look ridiculous. It looks like you're smuggling beavers on both sides of your head. You got to shave that, dude. I will send you a razor myself. I will get you a sponsorship to Dollar Shave Club. You are the poster boy for the dumbest haircut that has ever lived.
All right, Adam,
that's
you
exactly
got any last thoughts?
Don't fucking heckle a comedian. For those that don't know, don't heckle a comedian.
I love John, man. So I'm glad that the comments or questions came from Annalise and John. I love both their channels. They're both highly underrated channels, so I don't really like plug channels for no reason. But Professor Herp and All Canadian Reptile Girl, amazing. I love what they do. And All Canadian Reptile Girl, I learn more from her videos than you'll ever learn from mine. But if I had any final thoughts, first of all, Bradley, Zach, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I enjoy your channels. It's so cool to see what you guys are doing. And thanks for having me on. And if you want to, you know, see more of my stuff, tomorrow we're having that stream. If you are a patron, I'm going to post a video like right now. And I do videos on Mondays and Thursdays. And I do have a Instagram and a TikTok that I neglect severely, but I'd appreciate it if you followed me there too.
Adam, thanks again for coming on. congratulations again on 100K subs. Zach and I both really appreciate it, and we both love what you're doing. And I've said it several times now. It's an inspiration to see how quick you've grown, how far you've came. All around badass guy, man. I'll continue to support you. Like I can't wait till you get to the States and can hang out with us at shows. Guys, tune in next week. We're gonna have Antoine Hood from
Yes.
High Desert next Friday night. It's gonna be another great one. Zach and I look forward to that one. Adam, thank you again. And we love all you guys who feel like you are connected by creatures. Later, guys.
Love you guys. Thanks, Adam.